Indigenous rights and indigenous-led environmental activism have become increasingly prominent in the news and public discourse in recent years. This is largely due to the fact that indigenous peoples around the world have been disproportionately impacted by climate change, environmental destruction, and other forms of ecological degradation. Indigenous activism has become a powerful force in the fight for environmental justice, and has had a significant impact on the global conversation about environmentalism. Indigenous peoples have long been the stewards of the land and its resources. This stewardship is based on a deep connection to the land, and an understanding of the interconnected nature of all life. As such, indigenous communities are often intrinsically linked to the environment, and the health and well-being of the land is closely tied to the health and well-being of the people. However, indigenous rights and environmental protection have often been ignored or not taken seriously by governments and corporations. This has led to a number of environmental injustices, including the dispossession of indigenous lands, the destruction of sacred sites, and the exploitation of natural resources. Consequently, indigenous peoples have been some of the most vocal proponents of environmental protection and indigenous rights. One of the most prominent forms of indigenous-led environmental activism is the Idle No More movement. This movement was started in 2012 by 4 Indigenous women in Canada in response to the Harper government's proposed changes to the Indian Act. The movement has since spread across Turtle Island, North America, and the world, and is an expression of Indigenous rights and sovereignty. The movement focuses on protecting Indigenous lands, waters, and resources, and is an example of how Indigenous people are leading the charge for environmental justice. Indigenous-led environmental activism also takes the form of land reclamation and protection. In recent years, there has been an increase in Indigenous-led land reclamation projects, such as the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline. These projects are often aimed at protecting indigenous lands and resources, and restoring the connection between indigenous peoples and the land. Indigenous-led environmental activism is becoming increasingly important in the fight for environmental justice. Indigenous peoples have a unique and intimate connection to the land, and are often at the forefront of the fight for environmental protection. From Idle No More to land reclamation projects, Indigenous-led environmental activism is having a profound impact on the global conversation about environmentalism.